What we're talking about is that they're members of NATO. And this alliance, right now, is being put to the test. What's its worth? We absolutely have no interest in interfering in anyone's affairs. If we talk about Greenland, well, that's part of the issue that has to do with the consequences of the colonial era. Starting with the 13th century, Greenland essentially was a Norwegian colony. Starting with the 18th, the very beginning of the 20th century, it was the Denmark's colony.
And by the mid-20th century, an agreement was signed according to which it is part of Denmark, not as a colony, but as an associated territory. It was associated with the European Union, but in principle, Greenland is not a natural part of Denmark, is it? It was not a natural part of Norway or Denmark. It was the colonial acquired state. Well, people got used to that, and that's the other matter. NATO and the OSCE are Euro-Atlantic entities, and they feel a dire crisis of NATO. Currently, there are discussions ongoing within NATO whether it's time to shut it down because one NATO member intends to attack another NATO member, but that's a different story.
We are very pleased to welcome you to our traditional annual press conference, which we hold to summarize the results of each and every year. It's probably even more the case. Such an eventful year, like 2025, everyone will be interested to discuss, but what it has encompassed. So the first 20-day period of 2026, I think, will break all records for its impact set by the year 2025. Today, I hope we'll talk about this in detail. We have witnessed truly unprecedented events, a brutal armed invasion by the United States and Venezuela, resulting in dozens killed and injured. We are witnessing the apprehension and subsequent forced removal from their own country of the legitimate President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. In parallel with these aggressive actions, we are also observing serious threats being directed towards Cuba, as well as other sovereign nations across the entire Latin American and Caribbean region. And of course, we are deeply concerned by the overt declared attempts of external forces to destabilize the internal political situation in Iran. In particular, a contemporary figure like Kaja Kallas recently stated that by supporting the protests, the international community, represented apparently by the European Union, is pushing for regime change in this country. Mr. Merkel recently stated that Russia must not be allowed to achieve its goals in Ukraine, as this would be tantamount to appeasing Hitler. What do you think of this statement? Few paid attention to it, but they should have. The People's Republic of China, acting upon those very principles and regulations which the West itself, spearheaded by the United States, had established as the fundamental basis for the model of globalization, a model that was widely propagated across the globe until quite recently, and China, following these very same rules, outplay these Western competitors in trade, economy, investments, and infrastructure projects. The economic and financial indicators of the People's Republic of China speak for themselves, and now we see how they're trying to combat this situation with sanctions, tariffs, and duties. Yes, certainly the United States is indeed willing to engage in negotiations, but for the time being, all of this is unfolding in the complete absence of any shared overarching criteria, which until quite recently formed the fundamental basis for the operations of the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the World Trade Organization. All of these rules upon which the world order that is convenient for the West was supposedly meant to be based, all of these very rules have now been completely disregarded. This game is being played. Whoever is stronger is right. We are all observing this. We proceed from the understanding that if Western countries, speaking of Greenland, want to interact among themselves according to their own informal rules, well, that's their choice, that's their right. But we will conduct business with our partners, with all partners from the countries of the global majority, and also from those Western countries who are interested in engaging with Russia and discussing concrete mutually beneficial projects. We will, of course, engage based on the principles of equality. We can talk about our desire to universally apply generally accepted norms of international law, but the main thing here is equality, mutual respect, and the search for a balance of interests. Russia will consistently defend its interests without asserting claims to anyone else's legitimate rights, yet simultaneously not permitting our own lawful rights to be treated with undue liberty or disregard. And our foreign policy course, which is firmly enshrined within the strategy of the foreign policy concept, as approved by the President in March of 2023, it presupposes a resolute defense of the vital interests of our country and our people, and the creation of favorable external conditions for sustainable development within the Russian Federation. And of course, it is important, of great, indeed paramount importance, our principled actions for the further strengthening of national sovereignty. In terms of our foreign policy and external relations, we stand ready to engage and collaborate with all parties who demonstrate a spirit of mutual respect and reciprocity, and who are genuinely prepared to negotiate in an open and honest fashion, on a truly equal and fair basis, without any form of blackmail and without any undue pressure. And this is something that is very well known to everyone. I have already had occasion to mention our relations with China. These relations are truly unprecedented in terms of their level, in their profound depth, and in the remarkable alignment of our positions concerning global development, the situations in Eurasia, and overall in the global arena. I would also like to underscore the particularly privileged strategic nature of our partnership with India, which President Putin also visited in December of last year, and the practical embodiment of our, among the actions aimed at bolstering security across Eurasia, was also the signing of a comprehensive strategic partnership agreement with the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which provided us with fraternal allied assistance in the liberation of the Kursk region, as you are well aware, from Ukrainian militants. Our initiative, supported by the countries of the Group of Friends in defense of the UN Charter, the UN General Assembly, and it has adopted two very important, I would say, fundamental decisions on declaring an International Day against colonialism in all its forms. It will be observed on December 14th, and also on proclaiming an International Day for countering unilateral sanctions. This very day will be celebrated annually on December 4th. We are committed, as President Putin has repeatedly emphasized, to finding a diplomatic solution to the Ukrainian crisis. If we look at the history of this crisis, starting from 2014, and especially in the period since 2022, there has been no shortage. There has been no shortage of goodwill on the part of the Russian Federation when it comes to concluding political agreements. But each and every single time, our Western and primarily European neighbors have done everything in their power to completely derail these agreements. They are behaving in precisely the same manner with regard to the initiatives that are being put forward by Donald Trump's administration, striving in every possible way to convince the American administration to avoid any negotiations with the Russian Federation. And if you look at the statements made by European politicians, by their leaders, including Kaja Kallas herself, Ursula von der Leyen, Merkel, Starmer, Macron, and Rutte, they are quite seriously preparing for a war against the Russian Federation. And to be honest, they are not even trying to hide it. We are also firmly convinced that for a lasting settlement in the Middle East, it is absolutely essential to finally implement the United Nations resolution concerning the establishment of a Palestinian state. And I would like to emphasize that this particular criterion fully maintains its crucial relevance, especially in light of the current, already widely discussed initiative from President Trump regarding the establishment of a peace council.